You believe you are free, that your choices are yours, that you navigate life guided by reason, fairness, and some fragile notion of goodness. You believe people respect you because of your decency, that loyalty flows toward you because of your honesty, that the world rewards your sincerity. You believe you can disarm cruelty with kindness, conquer betrayal with forgiveness, and that virtue itself is a shield against corruption. How naive! Your illusions are a cage, and you walk proudly inside it, mistaking submission for strength. What you call principles are often chains fastened to your ankles by those who understand power better than you. And while you congratulate yourself for being virtuous, others are silently sharpening their blades, measuring your softness, and waiting for the moment to strike. I will not waste words soothing you. I will not dress this in false comfort. I will do what I have always done, strip illusions until you are left with nothing but the harsh, naked truth. The truth is this: there exists a personality more dangerous than any brute, any tyrant, any fool drunk on violence. It is the mind that understands power, not as a theory, but as a weapon. The one who moves without sentiment, who calculates without conscience, who sees human beings not as sacred souls, but as pieces on a battlefield. That is the most dangerous personality type. Not the raging beast, not the sentimental dreamer, but the strategist who understands that morality is a costume and loyalty is a leash. You live among them, and you do not even recognize them. They appear calm, polite, even friendly. They do not reveal their claws, because claws are only used by those who lack intelligence. They study, they wait, they smile, they learn the rhythm of your breath, the limits of your patience, the cracks in your defenses. They know exactly how far to press before you resist, and they retreat just enough to lull you back into complacency. They cloak domination in the language of cooperation, and while you are busy seeking fairness, they are redrawing the map of power so that every road leads back to their advantage. I once warned rulers, it is not enough to appear merciful or trustworthy. You must know when to wield cruelty with precision, when to break faith to preserve power. A man who believes honor is an absolute law will be destroyed by one who sees honor as a tool to be used or discarded depending on necessity. You think it is immoral to betray, then you are already predictable. You think it is wrong to deceive, then you are already blind. You think loyalty is permanent, then you are already owned. Why have you been so blind? Because you were conditioned to worship weakness as if it were virtue. From the moment you could understand words, you were told that the good are rewarded, that patience will triumph, that justice will eventually prevail. These are not truths. These are instruments, stories forged by those who rule to keep the ruled compliant. Every tale of noble suffering, every sermon of meekness rewarded in the end, every promise that truth will rise by its own power. They are opiates for the masses. You swallowed them. You built your life around them. And now you stand disarmed in a world that has no pity for the unarmed. Meanwhile, those who recognized the deception early have been training. They learn to see through smiles, to measure words not by sentiment, but by intent. They realize that the battlefield is not always marked by swords or banners, but by contracts, conversations, alliances, and betrayals. They understood that people are driven not by lofty ideals, but by fear, greed, envy, and desire for status. While you were waiting for fairness, they were building networks of control. While you were hoping for kindness, they were mastering the art of manipulation. While you were avoiding conflict, they were drilling their forces, ready to flank you the moment you exposed your weakness. Do not flatter yourself by thinking you are safe because you are insignificant. You are prey the moment you have anything someone else can use: your labor, your silence, your obedience, even your passivity. The dangerous personality type does not waste time on brute domination. when you are willing to hand over your freedom wrapped in gratitude. And you do. You surrender. Every time you bite your tongue instead of confronting. Every time you comply rather than negotiate. Every time you trust without verifying. You walk into their snares voluntarily. And then you wonder why the chain around your neck tightens with each passing year. Understand this. Power operates by cold mechanics. Influence spreads like supply lines. Discipline is a weapon sharper than any sword. And those who grasp this truth are always fewer in number but greater in impact. Armies are not led by the many, but by the few who understand positioning, timing, and control. Likewise, societies are not ruled by the majority who cry for fairness, but by the minority who wield strategy like a blade. The dangerous personality type is not reckless. They are deliberate. They strike not out of emotion but calculation. When they punish, it is surgical. When they reward, it is bait. They do not play for applause, they play for control. And you, the weak, pay the cost. Your passivity feeds their dominance. Your illusions protect their maneuvers. Your morality blinds you to their strategy. You think your suffering is bad luck. It is not. It is the price of ignorance. You suffer because you do not understand the field you are standing on. You are in a war, whether you like it or not. And in war, innocence is annihilation. Machiavellian strategy dictates one law above all. Adapt or perish. Do you know why rulers collapse? Not because they lack virtue, but because they lack vigilance. They trusted when they should have inspected. They hesitated when they should have struck. They showed weakness when fear was required. And so, they were devoured not by armies, but by individuals who possessed the most dangerous trait of all, the ability to wield perception as a weapon. You have been blind because you cling to the belief that intentions matter more than outcomes. That is a lie. Outcomes are all that matter. History remembers results, not feelings. And the dangerous personality knows this. They will sacrifice appearance, sacrifice sentiment, sacrifice reputation, even if it serves their ultimate gain. They will feign loyalty until loyalty becomes a chain around your own neck. They will feign ignorance until your guard drops. They will feign kindness until you depend on it. And then, at the precise moment, they will pull the ground from beneath you and leave you gasping for stability that will never return. You must face this or remain a pawn. You must accept that human beings are not guided by reason but by desire. And desire is a weapon that can be turned against them. You must stop believing that kindness will protect you. It will not. Kindness without strength is submission. You must stop believing that honesty will save you. It will not. Honesty without strategy is exposure. You must stop believing that morality is absolute. It is not. Morality is flexible, wielded like propaganda to bend masses into obedience. The dangerous personality type has already accepted this. That is why they rise while you sink. That is why they command while you obey. That is why they take while you beg. And that is why, unless you transform, you will remain a casualty in a war you never even realized you were losing. Do you feel the chill now? That is the draft of reality finally cutting through the illusions you wrapped yourself in. You believed that weakness disguised as virtue would protect you. But weakness only attracts predators. You believed patience would earn reward. But patience without leverage is simply waiting to be devoured. You believed fairness exists. But fairness is a child's dream whispered to keep you asleep while wolves organize around your bed. You believed loyalty is sacred. But loyalty is only sacred to the one who benefits from it. You do not yet grasp the battlefield you inhabit. You walk in daily life as though it were neutral ground streets. Offices, gatherings, conversations. But to the dangerous personality, all of it is terrain. They study the lay of the land as a general studies rivers, hills, and choke points. Every relationship is a fortification or a vulnerability. Every word spoken is either an arrow launched or a shield raised. Every silence is a gap in the supply line, waiting to be exploited. And you, thinking it is just life, stumble like an untrained recruit who does not even realize the campaign has already begun. Do you know why you have been dominated? Because you assumed others were playing by the same rules you chose. You extended trust because you imagined they would reciprocate. You showed restraint because you believed they would appreciate it. You revealed truth because you thought honesty would create closeness. How foolish. You offered them reconnaissance reports on your own weaknesses and called it intimacy. You opened your gates and called it vulnerability. You bared your throat and called it love. And the dangerous personality type thanked you for your generosity while tightening their hands around your exposed neck. Understand this. The battlefield is psychological before it is physical. Armies fall not when their bodies are broken, but when their will collapses. And so the dangerous type focuses not merely on what you do, but on what you believe. They seed ideas into your mind like saboteurs planting explosives beneath the walls of a fortress. They whisper narratives until you confuse them with your own. They let you think you chose, when in fact, they directed your choices. They wage psychological operations, subtle and constant. They erode your confidence, one remark at a time. They undermine your resolve with carefully timed hesitation. They soften your defenses with fabricated kindness. Until finally, you surrender without even realizing a campaign was fought. The dangerous personality does not tire. They calculate. They record your habits, your moods, your preferences. They file them away as a commander memorizes the supply reserves of an enemy. And then they strike not at your strength, but at your most predictable weakness. They do not fight fair because only the weak fight fair. They fight smart. They fight cold. They fight to win. And the cost of your blindness, it is already being tallied. Every lost opportunity where you yielded instead of demanding, every betrayal you forgave instead of punishing, every alliance you gave without binding terms, every resource drained because you feared confrontation. These are debts, and the collector never fails to arrive. Do you think you can remain passive and avoid conflict? That is your greatest delusion. To abstain is still to participate. To refuse to seize power is to hand it over. The dangerous personality understands that absence of strategy is a strategy of surrender. When you fail to act, you leave the initiative to them, and they will not waste it. They will march into the empty fields of your life, claim your resources, occupy your time, and dictate your choices. You will still be part of the war. You will just be on your knees rather than your feet. Machiavellian strategy dictates that to survive you must become fluent in ruthlessness, not as a temper, but as a discipline. Ruthlessness does not mean reckless cruelty. It means clarity. The clarity to strike when delay would mean death. The clarity to discard illusions that weaken your command. The clarity to see people not as they present themselves, but as they function in the machinery of power. The clarity to cut supply lines of those who exploit you, even if they wear the mask of friend or kin. The dangerous personality type already possesses this clarity. That is why they advance while you retreat. They know that fear is more reliable than love. They know that appearances matter more than truth. They know that people obey not out of loyalty but out of necessity. And they know that ruthlessness, precise, disciplined, calculated ruthlessness achieves more in one move than a lifetime of hesitant virtue. So what will you do? Will you continue to lie to yourself, telling comforting stories of fairness and justice? Will you cling to illusions until they choke you? Or will you finally open your eyes and accept that you are in a campaign where hesitation is fatal? Do not look for rescue. None is coming. Do not expect mercy. None will be given. You must either rise into strategy or sink into irrelevance. And do not confuse strategy with intellect alone. Strategy requires discipline. Discipline is what prevents you from revealing your thoughts too quickly. Discipline is what keeps you silent when silence is stronger than speech. Discipline is what allows you to act decisively when action, though ruthless, is the only path to survival. Without discipline, knowledge is scattered, intelligence useless on the field. Without discipline, even cunning minds collapse under pressure. Discipline turns thought into weapon, strategy into victory. You must also understand the principle of reconnaissance. Do you think it is noble to trust without verification? That is the creed of the weak. The strong verify, the strong observe, the strong gather intelligence before advancing. You must learn to watch without announcing you are watching, to question without revealing your doubt, to test loyalty quietly, to measure every ally as if they were a potential traitor, because many will be, and when betrayal comes, you must already have prepared the counterstrike. Flanking maneuvers are not only military but psychological. The dangerous personality type will never attack your fortress head-on when they can circle to strike where you are least prepared. They will not confront your strength. They will erode it by cutting your reinforcements, isolating you from allies, and leaving you to starve until surrender feels like relief. You must learn to anticipate the flank, to guard your soft sides, to create layers of defense that cannot be pierced by charm, pity, or guilt. Attrition is another law of power. Sometimes the enemy does not strike in one blow but drains you slowly. A remark here, a concession there, a small compromise repeated until compromise becomes your nature. You must recognize this war of attrition and counter it with relentless boundaries. One step conceded today will become a mile lost tomorrow. Refuse erosion. Refuse exhaustion. Refuse the slow bleed of your strength under the guise of patience. Supply lines decide wars. Armies collapse not because of bravery or cowardice, but because they run out of provisions. Likewise, in life, your resources, time, energy, money, influence are your supply lines. The dangerous personality type monitors them, exploits them, drains them. They will burden you with their problems until your reserves deplete. They will occupy your time until you have none left for your own advancement. They will leech your energy with constant demands until you are too weak to resist. Guard your supply lines with iron discipline. Cut off anyone who drains without return. This is not cruelty. This is survival. I have seen rulers destroyed because they believed their subjects loved them enough to endure hardship. Fools. Love is a fragile shield. Fear and necessity are iron. You must command respect through clarity, not affection. You must be prepared to be hated if being hated preserves your power. Better to be feared with stability than loved with fragility. And if you recoil at this, ask yourself, what has love alone ever preserved for you? Has it shielded you from betrayal? Has it prevented exploitation? Or has it made you pliable in the hands of those who smile as they bleed you? The most dangerous personality type accepts hatred if it serves their command. They do not seek to be liked. They seek to be obeyed. They do not crave admiration. They crave leverage. They do not chase applause. They chase advantage. That is why they rise and you remain stuck, wandering the battlefield, clutching your ideals like broken shields, wondering why arrows keep piercing your chest. You want to believe that control is unnecessary, that power corrupts, that one can live untouched by the games of domination. Yet every moment of your existence proves otherwise. When you wake, the structures you obey, the laws, the taxes, the schedules, the contracts are the designs of men who understood power. They wrote the rules. They drew the maps. They claimed the terrain. And you, clinging to ideals, walk obediently through corridors built for your containment. You are not free. You are governed, managed, directed. and pacified. And when you do not see the hand, it is because the hand has mastered concealment. The most dangerous personality type does not broadcast their control with loud declarations. They embed it in expectation. They implant it in culture. They weave it into your daily habits until you cannot tell where your will ends and their influence begins. They do not need to strike you when they can teach you to strike yourself. They do not need to silence you when they can make you censor yourself. That is true domination, when your obedience no longer feels like submission but like choice. And yet, even knowing this, you cling to the fantasy that you can be good enough to avoid exploitation. You hope that if you give generously, people will spare you. You hope that if you forgive, people will honor you. You hope that if you remain loyal, people will never betray you. These are delusions. You are not spared for being good. You are spared only when you are strong, when you are too costly to betray, when you are too dangerous to exploit. Mercy is not given, it is forced. Respect is not granted, it is compelled. Safety is not offered, it is secured. Do you think these truths are cruel? They are not cruel. They are simply unadorned. Cruelty is believing in illusions that guarantee your destruction. Cruelty is teaching children that goodness will protect them when predators circle at every corner. Cruelty is the deception that chains you. I offer you no such cruelty. I offer clarity, and clarity, though cold, is survival. Now listen carefully. You have been weak, not because you lacked intelligence, but because you refused to see. You refused to study the mechanics of influence because it unsettled your conscience. You refused to recognize manipulation because it disrupted your comfort. You refused to analyze betrayal because it hurt too much to admit you were deceived. So you looked away. And while you looked away, they maneuvered. They advanced. They built networks. They captured positions. And you, with your head in the clouds, awoke one day surrounded and outnumbered. But there is still a path forward if you are willing to abandon softness. You must begin with reconnaissance of yourself. Before you can command others, you must know your own terrain. Where are your cracks? Where does fear silence you? Where does desire blind you? Where does guilt bind you? You must uncover these weak points with merciless honesty. The dangerous personality type already sees them in you. They exploit them because you hide them from yourself. If you wish to resist, you must expose them first. Once you know yourself, you must map others. Stop listening to their words as if words are truth. Words are weapons. Watch their actions, their patterns, their reactions under stress. Words are banners on the battlefield, raised to distract. Actions are movements of troops. Patterns are supply routes. Reactions under pressure are cracks in fortifications. Study these, and you will know who is trustworthy, who is dangerous, who is weak, and who can be bent into service. Do not seek fairness, seek leverage. Fairness is an illusion that keeps you docile. Leverage is reality. Leverage decides who commands and who obeys. Do not ask what people promise. Ask what they need. Every need is a chain waiting to be pulled. The dangerous personality type understands this instinctively. That is why they control. They identify needs: hunger, status, fear of abandonment, desire for approval, and they grip them. Do you wish to break free? Then stop hiding your needs. Strip them away or guard them so tightly that none can use them against you. But strategy does not end with defense. To rise, you must learn offense. Strike not blindly, but with precision. Do not attack strength, attack vulnerability. Do not confront directly, flank. Do not waste energy on mass battles, target supply lines. Do not wait for fairness, create necessity. When people depend on you, they obey. When people fear losing you, they serve. When people see no alternative, They submit. This is the discipline of command. And if you recoil at these words, then admit your fate. Admit you would rather remain a pawn, clinging to the illusion of goodness while being devoured piece by piece. Admit that you are content to be ruled, to be owned, to be disposable. But if something in you stirs, if some part of you refuses to die obedient, then sharpen yourself, because the battlefield is merciless, and it will not wait for you to be ready. Do you know why I once wrote that it is better to be feared than loved? Because fear commands discipline. Love evaporates at the first sign of sacrifice. Men will betray a beloved master if hunger gnaws at their stomachs. But fear keeps them steady, even when desire tempts them. Fear anchors loyalty when love flees. And yet, the most dangerous personality type goes beyond fear. They weave both. They create the illusion of love while instilling the weight of fear. Their subjects smile at them while trembling beneath. That duality is unbreakable. That duality is domination. You must learn to wield duality. Do not present yourself as soft, nor as brutal alone. Be unpredictable. Let others wonder which face they will encounter. Keep them unsteady. For certainty breeds rebellion. Confusion breeds obedience. When they cannot anticipate you, they hesitate. And hesitation is your weapon. The cost of failing to transform is not abstract. It is your life. A life of wasted strength, of drained energy, of servitude disguised as virtue. You will watch others rise on your labor. While you rot in obscurity, you will give and give until nothing remains. And still they will demand more. You will cry for fairness, and no one will answer. You will beg for mercy, and none will come. You will be forgotten, while those who were ruthless enough to see clearly carve their names into history. That is the price of passivity. That is the price of illusion. I do not say this to frighten you. I say this to strip you bare, to force you to stand on the battlefield without shield, without armor, without lies. Look around. The war is already raging. You cannot walk away. You are already conscripted. The only choice is whether you rise as commander or collapse as casualty. And do not think neutrality will save you. Neutrality is only a disguise for weakness. And weakness is always conquered. So I place the blade in your hand, not a blade of sentiment, but of strategy. Cut through your illusions. Cut through your conditioning. Cut through the soft flesh of your excuses. Stand with spine unbent, eyes unclouded, resolve cold as steel. Then, and only then, will you no longer be prey. You are still searching for escape, some thread of comfort, some loophole where you may remain gentle and yet prevail. Kill that hope now. There is no loophole. There is no victory without discipline, no freedom without ruthlessness, no survival without strategy. The battlefield does not permit neutrality, and those who hesitate are always taken as spoils. If you wish to stop being devoured, you must learn to devour. If you wish to stop being commanded, you must learn to command. I tell you this not as suggestion but as decree. Your old self must die. The self that forgave endlessly. The self that waited for fairness. The self that mistook weakness for virtue. That self must be executed. Without ceremony. Without pity. For as long as that self lives, you remain chained. The most dangerous personality type already killed that softness within themselves long ago. That is why they are capable of clarity while you drown in hesitation. They stripped themselves of illusions and stood bare before reality. They accepted that morality bends to power. They accepted that fear governs loyalty. They accepted that human nature is selfish, envious, hungry, and weak. They embraced these truths not with despair but with precision, and with that precision, they built systems of control while others whispered prayers for fairness that never arrived. Do you understand yet? The dangerous personality type is not bound by the same code that restrains you. They treat every encounter as a maneuver. They never waste energy on righteousness when calculation is more efficient. They do not ask whether an action is good. They ask whether it is effective. They do not ask whether a decision is fair. They ask whether it strengthens their position. They do not ask whether people will like them. They ask whether people will obey them. That is the difference between command and servitude. You cannot plead with them. You cannot appeal to their conscience. Conscience is a luxury they discarded the moment they saw how fragile it made them. If you try to move them with sentiment, they will nod while measuring how your emotions expose your weak flanks. If you try to shame them, they will smile, because shame is a tool only effective against those who fear it. If you try to rely on their loyalty, they will wait until betrayal profits them more than fidelity. And so, you face the question, will you remain soft, or will you rise into the same ruthlessness? This is the only choice. If you remain soft, then resign yourself to being ruled. But if you rise, you must understand, this path is not comfort. This path is not ease. This path is clarity that will burn your illusions to ash. Begin with silence. Learn to reveal nothing. Let others speak, and in their words, they will draw maps of their weaknesses. Hold your tongue, and you will see what they fear to reveal. Words are supply lines. Do not give yours freely. Speak only when speech advances your position. And when you must speak, choose words not for truth, but for effect. Learn deception, not as a sin, but as a weapon. Do not lie recklessly. Lie with precision. A reckless lie weakens trust beyond repair. A precise lie shapes reality itself. The dangerous personality type deceives not because they enjoy it, but because deception is more efficient than conflict. Why fight a war when you can convince the enemy to surrender before the first arrow flies? Practice fear. Not the fear that paralyzes, but the fear that sharpens. Fear is reconnaissance of the future. When you feel fear, do not retreat. Study it. Ask what it reveals. Fear shows you where you are vulnerable. Fear shows you where your defenses are weak. Fear shows you the approach routes your enemy is already considering. Use fear as intelligence, not as a prison. Do not worship love. Love is treacherous. Love binds you with illusions of permanence. Love convinces you that betrayal is impossible. But betrayal is always possible. Guard against it. If love comes, let it come, but let it never blind you. Never allow affection to override strategy. Better to wound a lover than to fall by their hidden blade. Better to be feared by those who claim to love you than to be destroyed by their inevitable weakness. Remember the law of attrition. Wars are lost, not by great defeats, but by steady erosion. Likewise, your life is not stolen in a single moment, but drained drop by drop. The dangerous type does this to you now. They bleed your time. They siphon your energy. They occupy your attention. They erode your will with constant small demands. And you yield because each demand seems minor. But the cumulative toll is your annihilation. Refuse attrition. Refuse the slow bleed. Refuse every concession that does not strengthen you. Establish command, not as a dream, not as a hope, but as a reality enforced daily. Command requires clarity, consistency, and consequences. If you say you will do something, do it. If you set a boundary, enforce it. If you issue a threat, deliver it when tested. Do not bluff. Bluff is suicide. The dangerous personality type will always test you, probing for false signals. If they find that your threats are hollow, you are already broken. Better to remain silent than to bluff. But if you speak, act, Always act. This is the discipline you have avoided. This is the burden you must now embrace. Do not expect thanks. No one will thank you for being strong. They will fear you. They will envy you. They will whisper against you. But they will obey you. And obedience is worth more than love, more than admiration, more than fairness. Obedience is survival. So here is the uncompromising call to action. You must decide whether to remain pawn or rise as commander. There is no middle ground. Pawns live, short lives. Sacrificed for convenience. Remembered by none. Commanders endure. Commanders bend the field to their design. Commanders write history. The dangerous personality type already commands you. The only way to escape is to become equally dangerous. Not reckless, not cruel without purpose, but cold, clear, precise, disciplined, and utterly unyielding. Choose now. Stay chained to your illusions, and you will be devoured in silence, forgotten by all, a pawn erased from the board. Or seize the blade, kill the weakness within you, and rise into command. There will be no applause. There will be no comfort. There will only be survival, power, and clarity. But in that clarity, for the first time, you will no longer be prey. The battlefield stretches before you. The troops are already moving. The banners are already raised. The war is already underway. There is no time left for hesitation. Either you take command now, or you remain a casualty of those who already know how to command. The choice is final. The choice is yours.